There's a tough choice ahead when it comes to making decisions about the future of energy in Minnesota. Experts testify the state's current energy producers will not be enough to handle the load as usage increases. Now, senators are considering the options, such as investing in renewable energy sources like wind and solar, or lifting the nuclear moratorium and expanding the state's nuclear capabilities. I'm now joined by Republican Senator Andrew Mathews, whose bill, Senate File 350, would lift that moratorium. Senator, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Senator, let's start at the beginning. When people think about nuclear energy, they can often picture the worst case scenarios. So talk me through where we are with nuclear energy in Minnesota and what that looks like.
Yeah, the growth of nuclear energy and the way we have this technology today is a far cry from the bad stories of the past. We think about, whether it's the TV show Chernobyl or some of those disasters that we've experienced almost a century ago now, a long time ago. And we've just come leaps and bounds with safety, with security, with technology advancements, even with our current nuclear generators that we have in Minnesota today at Monticello and in Red Wing. And the next generation, even beyond this, is a step above with even more advanced security, safety features. There's a whole new phase that I believe we're going to move into being called the advanced nuclear reactors or modular reactors that even takes the safety and security protocols in place to a whole new level. So we've come a long ways from these areas where we've had disasters in the past, and I think that we've got a lot more knowledge and understanding of this technology to be able to do it right and do it safely.
Senator, during a recent committee meeting, a testifier said that the demand for energy is going to skyrocket here in Minnesota, practically triple over the next decade. Why is that? And will our current electrical grid be able to handle that?
I think we are going to see a pretty big growth in energy demand. I think there's a few things that are contributing to that. The use of all the data that we use and consume is going to keep growing exponentially. That's why we're seeing a whole bunch of new data centers that are needing to be built all over the country for a large number of different industries because of the amount of data and the electricity that those will consume. AI is going to be a large part of that. I think some other drivers are going to be the growth of electric vehicles is definitely going to contribute to that. The use just to recharge your own electric vehicle is going to increase our energy usage by quite a bit. And so we have seen there is a pretty significant forecast of energy demand that we're going to have in the future. And at the same time, we're talking about decreasing the amount of energy that we're generating. We're retiring a bunch of our larger generating units. Most of our coal units are getting phased out. Even some gas is getting clamped down. And so I keep telling people, I've used this phrase multiple times, if supply is going down and demand is going up, you're going to run right smack into a math problem. So my goal is to find an all-of-the-above approach to increase the options for all different types of energy generation to have supply increase along with the demand.
Yes, please save us from a math problem. We don't do that here. Talking about Minnesota specifically, how would we benefit from utilizing nuclear energy?
Yeah, so Minnesota will benefit from having the nuclear moratorium lifted by having all of the tools available in the toolbox as much as we can. So we had the 100% mandate law come into effect. I did not support that because I believe that it is going to be increasing costs pretty dramatically by limiting some of the things that we have generating our energy today. Even as we're sitting here, I checked right before coming to this interview, I checked some of the real-time data of energy generation, where it's coming from. So for the MISO grid, which is our regional grid that includes all of Minnesota, even as we're sitting here right now taping this, 70% of the energy that we're using right now comes from three sources: coal, gas, and nuclear. And today, right now, we're having a really good high wind energy day. It's having a greater than normal share, but still even having a good day with some of our renewable energy, wind and solar, we're still very heavily reliant on these strong baseload forms of generation that coal, gas, and nuclear have been. So this is to help have nuclear be one of these options again, since Minnesota is limiting the coal energy and some of these other forms that have been traditional baseload energy. I'm trying to encourage my colleagues to expand. Nuclear is the one good clean energy option left that can be solid, reliable baseload power that's on pretty much 24/7. It's not weather dependent, it's not based on the wind or the sunshine or anything like that. It's going to be the last remaining good, reliable, clean baseload generation that we need to undergird our grid.
Are there risks to lifting the moratorium, though?
Well, nothing can be completely without risk, but I do think that the safety protocols that we've seen help minimize that, because I don't think we're looking at having the risk of, the Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island type disasters that we've had. We even have today some of these, like 3 Mile Island. Microsoft's actively working to repurpose that facility right now. They're partnering with another energy company working on getting it restored and back on the grid to help power all of the data usage that Microsoft and their products are going to be increasing. So I think the same's true for Minnesota. There's definitely always going to be some risk, no matter what form of energy that we use. There's risks in renewable energy, there's risks in gas, but we have some of the strongest safety protocols in place that we ever have that I think definitely will help mitigate and minimize that risk.
Talking about the risks, it brings me to the question, why was the moratorium set in the first place?
The moratorium got put in place back in the 90s, which was well before my time here in the legislature. So I don't know all of what the discussion was at the time. My best guess is that we built 2 pretty significant nuclear facilities in Minnesota around the 70s at Monticello and at Prairie Island down near Red Wing. And I think there was a bit of a concern of like, hey, we don't know how fast this might grow. 2 is enough. They just put the pause button on it at that point. But we're in a much different environment now than even we were back in the 90s. And we are going to need to have more options available for good, strong baseload generation. So I do think the moratorium has outlived its usefulness. We do have strong safety procedures in place. And lifting the moratorium isn't going to make it the Wild West in Minnesota. All of the same procedures are still in place. Every utility company, if they want to build one, is going to have to come with a pretty strong plan. It all has to get reviewed and questioned and approved by the Public Utilities Commission. None of that part is being changed by any of my bills. This is making sure that they even get to have the discussion in the first place. Right now, they're not even allowed to bring a proposal for consideration. So this will allow our companies to decide if this is something they want to propose, then come to our state regulators and have to argue for and prove that it would be the most cost-effective way for providing clean baseload energy to our consumers in Minnesota.
You mentioned cost effective, and we've already talked about how lifting the moratorium would help our electrical grid. What would it mean for our economy?
It would give us more options. I've continued to advocate for an all of the above energy approach. I'm fine with wind, I'm fine with solar. They are intermittent, weather dependent energy technologies. And we want to have our lights on, we want our phones to work, we want to access our data on the internet, not just when the sun is shining or when the wind is blowing. So we need these types of strong baseload generation to underpin our grid. And I just want to have all of the options available to us in the toolbox, whether it is nuclear, whether it's more gas that can help fill the gap with some of the weather-dependent renewable energy forms. This is basically to have all of the options available on the table so that we don't have all of our eggs into one basket, allows us for more diversity and hopefully can help. That competition alone should help be a downward pressure on our costs.
Yeah, so that's how it would benefit consumers. Would it bring down costs?
It would have more of those options available, and it would have the competition. The energy companies would decide, can we best serve our customers with some nuclear? Would it best be with some gas and maybe some more wind and solar mixed in? It gives them more options, and our companies want to help provide good, reliable power at the cheapest price. And so having all the options available as we can, I think, will help with those costs.
Senator, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share on this topic?
I'm running two versions of the bill. I'm doing a full, complete repeal of the moratorium. And I'm also doing a partial repeal in a separate bill that would just partially repeal the moratorium for allowing these smaller nuclear modular reactors to be built. I'm trying to take this as multiple ways to go at this problem. Definitely want as much as we can, but I'm trying to come up with as many creative solutions that we can to get this passed. And I do think we have a chance this year. The support for this has been growing over the years that I've been here, even from ideologically right-leaning groups and ideologically left-leaning groups. There is a growing movement to say, hey, we need to have this as a tool in our toolbox. And I'm hoping that 2025 might just be the year that we can get this done.
All right, thank you, and good luck, Senator.
Thank you so much for having me.